G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. Today's episode is the next installment of the Fortnightly Check-In series, but before we get into that, some exciting news. You can now follow the Dysregulated podcast on Instagram. That's right, the show now has its own Instagram page. We have hit the big time and I thank you for it. So you're probably wondering, how do we follow the show, Elliot? Please tell us. Well, if you go to the search function on Instagram and you type in the Dysregulated.podcast, that is the Dysregulated.podcast, it will come up. And I'll tell you what, I highly recommend that you follow the page because there is going to be some great content headed your way. So that is the Dysregulated.podcast on Instagram. So now that the good news is out of the way, let's get to the nitty gritty. How have I been over the last fortnight? Well, if I had to sum it up with one word, it would be stressed. A word that just keeps coming up on this show. Unfortunately, though, it is true. Anxiety is still as much a feature of my reality as it's ever been. Now, you may remember, if you've been listening to the last couple of episodes, that I've recently started a new job, but I haven't told you as much about it because of these obsessive fears that I have, driven by OCD, that if I tell you what I'm doing and let the cat out of the bag, it's all going to fall over and turn pear-shaped. Now, we're going to test that hypothesis here because I'm about to tell you what I'm doing. Drum roll, please. I am a behavioural therapist or a behaviour support practitioner. So there you go. Isn't it funny though? Even as I tell you now right here on the show what my new position is, I just got hit by a wave of anxiety and the whole thought that I've now blown it because I've told you what I'm doing. It's all going to turn pear-shaped, and what an embarrassment it's going to be when I have to explain that I got fired from this new position. So there you go. That is the sort of hold that these disorders have on me, unfortunately. But the good news is, as you may be able to tell, we are not giving in to any of these disorders, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, whether it's borderline personality, whether it's OCD, whatever, I don't care. We are not giving in. But that's not to say that they're not having an effect, because I tell you, I've been in this new position for 3 weeks and I am so tired and fatigued. It has been a massive 3 weeks. Now, if you remember the episode just before, it might have even been the last episode where I spoke about some of the really illogical cognitions that I've been battling. Well, I'll tell you what, they have not abated, that's for sure. And although there's no logical basis to it, there are no facts to these thoughts, the hold that anxiety has over me is really not funny. So that is still a work in progress. But the good news is we are in the new position as a behavioural therapist. It taps into my meaning and purpose and what I want to achieve, which is a great thing. So my work is really rewarding, but it's definitely fair to say that it has taken a lot out of me, that is for sure. And I was thinking about that earlier. Why are we under so much pressure? Is it my new job that's giving me the pressure, or is it coming from within? And as I expected, after I meditated on this idea for a little bit, all this pressure that I'm feeling is coming from me. It's not coming from my boss or managers or anything like that. It is coming from within. And then I had a bit of a thought. Why is it that we put so much pressure on ourselves? Why? Why do we continue to do this to ourselves? And what I think it is a defense mechanism gone wrong. That is my suspicion. So try and stick with me when I explain this. So as you would be aware, if you've listened to other episodes of the show, I have like 7 diagnoses. Now, one of them is ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. Now, one of the hallmarks of ADHD is making silly, careless mistakes. And I think this defense mechanism that piles on the pressure is doing it so we focus on not making mistakes. So it keeps us on our toes, focused on what we need to be focused on, so we don't make mistakes and do things wrong. But the problem is, just like all of my defense mechanisms, they're all dialed up way too high. And what happens is we get buried under the expectations that we put on ourselves. So I think that's the story. I think the reason I'm a bit like this is because in the past I've made little mistakes thanks to my ADHD, and then some of the other disorders like depression have said, look, you made a mistake, you're an imposter, you're a fraud, you're never going to amount to anything. And then the anxiety will kick in and say, one day you're going to make a really big mistake and it's going to go very horribly wrong. So you better prepare yourself. And that's how this defense mechanism, I think, has probably sprung up in response to those sorts of thoughts and emotions that go with it. So that's what I think's happening. I put all this pressure on myself to keep me focused on not making mistakes. But the problem is this pressure is absolutely wearing me out. It has floored me. And when our systems are under strain, like I would say mine are at the moment, that is when the mistakes can actually happen. So that is something I really need to focus on, is to dial down the effects of these defensive mechanisms. So there you go. But it is true, I'm a behavior therapist, and so far I don't think I've made any mistakes. I think everyone's pretty happy when I look at objectively how things have gone, which is great news. And it is really good to be doing a role, being in a job that has got a lot of relevance when it comes to my meaning and purpose. I'm very lucky that I am able to pursue that in the way that I am. So there you go. Behavioral therapist, that's pretty exciting. That adds a bit more credence, I suppose, to my words here on the podcast, even though it's my lived experience that really is what backs up my words here. But still, it is really good that I'm doing what I really, really want to be doing. We just need to dial down these defensive mechanisms and just get a bit of clarity and be able to look at things objectively and not put all this pressure on ourselves. Anyway, that is all for this episode because, as I said, I am very fatigued. It's taken a lot of effort to get this episode out, that is for sure, but I'm glad I did because I want to keep you updated with everything that goes on because, as you know, this is the most genuine, fair income and real look at mental illness on all of the internet, in my humble opinion. And if you maybe agree with me, feel free to give me a rate on your favorite podcast app. That's really good for the algorithms. And please follow the new Instagram page, the Dysregulated.podcast. Okay, thank you everybody. I'll see you soon here on the show. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.